and welcome to lesson number 3 of learning Purescript. What happened is in the last lesson I found that I recorded about an hour and a half worth of material. It was just too much, so I split it up, and what I've decided is to now go into the second part of the last tutorial and go a bit more in depth, because we kind of touched on currying but we didn't really make a clear understanding of what that is. So we'll explain that first and foremost. We'll still play around a little bit with PSCI because we can go back and forth. And secondly, we'll start combining functions once you've got a better grasp of currying. So let's dive in. Here we go. This is from last time. So we've got a modules. We've called it main. We've reported the prelude. We have a function called addMe, and it has a type definition. I should have added, I don't think I did last time, but to get type definitions you have to have these two colons, and then it has an int to an int and returns an int. So as we explained, A is a first int, B is a second int, and then A and B would be the integers that are returned. So what we'll do is we'll go into pulp, PSCI, this will load up, so we're in it now, and we're going to quickly import our main. So that's that. We'll import the prelude. Here we go. So we've import those two, and then we can quickly test addMe, and we'll do 4 plus 5. Okay, so that returns 9. So you've seen that function now, it's working. So it's doing 4 plus 5. We're going to now explain currying and why the type definition on line 5 is doing this. I mean, it doesn't quite make sense. I guess you'd expect it from a JavaScript point of view or any sort of other languages. It'd be like this. It'd be a tuple. This is what it would be called. So you'd think, okay, well, this makes a lot more sense. But what's actually going on under the hood is that these are becoming functions. So let's just split this up a little bit. We'll do some of this. Okay, so now it will become a little bit more apparent. And lastly, I mean, we can do this, but it potentially might add a bit more confusion, but that's ultimately what is returned. But I'll leave it as an empty, as a function. Okay, so what's happening is you've got a function that's expecting an input, okay, and that will return a function that's expecting another input, which will return our result. Okay, so that sounds a little bit crazy, but bear with me. Let's change things up. Okay, so that's A. This is going to be B, and then that's going to be our A plus B. Okay, so now is that making a little bit more sense? So you're thinking, okay, so I'm passing in an A, and then I get a function, and then I'll pass in a B, then I get an A plus B. Okay, that's kind of making sense. What I'll do is I'll copy that. We'll change it back to how we had it for our type definition. Oh, there we go. And we'll keep this up here. Oh, dash dash. That's if you want to make a comment. So you'll see it's grayed out. So that won't get run. So how does currying work? I'll show you another example to try and make this a little bit more concrete what's going on. What you can then do, because you're adding one variable here, and then it allows you to later add the second variable. This is why currying is really good. So let's make another little function of add me 5. Oh, and that is going to be it's going to accept one parameter, and it's going to return an integer. So it's going to accept one integer, it's going to return an integer. And we're going to grab that, pop it there. We'll leave it, because we can leave it blank, and I'll show you why. And then that will add me, and we'll give it 5. Okay, so what's going on right now is we've done this part. Okay, so we've done the add me 5, and now this is going to return us a function that's expecting a second parameter. Okay, so let's quickly save that. Another little thing you can do is if you colon R, that'll refresh the PSCI. There we go, and that'll recompile all of our code here, and then we can import again. So we'll import prelude and we'll import main. So we've got them now. So let's check out add me 5. So add me 5. Oh, it's with 5. and let's give it a 5, and that returns 10. So you see how, I mean, that's just a quick example of how curryings work. So what we've done here is we've created this function that will take an a and a b and of integers, and it will return us a plus b. Okay, and currying ultimately is, this is a function which will return us another function. Okay, so we've instantiated the first function here, and then what we get back is this section, which is then, now we're at this point, and then once we call add me 5 with a 5, then we're ultimately saying 5, which is our first 5 here, our second one here, and then we're adding them together. That's how we're able to do sort of simple composition. You can almost see that as a construction function, so something that you'll be able to use throughout multiple functions. So if we were to copy this and call it add me 10 for really obvious reasons, okay, and we'll go 10, we'll save it, we'll refresh and import all the bits, and then we'll do add me 10 and we'll give it 2, and that'll return us 12. So do you see what's happening here? We're composing functions because of the way that you can do currying. And also, if you were to have a C in here, up here it'd be one level deeper. Okay, so it'll be a function that returns a function of a function that returns a function that returns a result. Okay, so that's what's going on, and this is where it will come in real handy, because currying is built in Purescript, very much like Haskell. Haskell's got everything built in. If you were to do it in JavaScript, you'd have to create a function that will do currying for you. But in Purescript, it's all built in, so you don't need. But I wanted to explain what was going on, because once you get an understanding of this, you can understand here why we're able to partially apply a function. So we're almost able to put, let me just take this off because that's going to add a bit of confusion. We're able to put the first half of our function, and then later, once we call admin with another number, with a 6 in our PSCI down here, so let's do that, add me 5 with 6, then we're doing the second half, so 5 plus 6 is 11. So that's how it's going on, and that's what's happening with currying under the hood. I just want to add another little bit about currying, just to further reinforce our understanding of these being functions, returning functions, and then our result. And we're going to get rid of these in addme, okay? And then we're going to create an anonymous function, which is just a backslash in Purescript. Anonymous function with an input of A, and then an anonymous function with an input of B is going to give us A plus B. Okay, so it's very much the same as what's going on here. Okay, so that's our first anonymous function. This is our second one. Okay, here's our second one, and then our results. And you see here there's no actual inputs, but because this is a function return, so once you call this once, you know, much like before, you'll get to the first part, second part, and then you return. What we'll do is we'll test that this works. Okay, we'll import main, we'll import prelude, and then we're going to do addme again. So we'll do addme 10, 10, and that returns 20. So you can see that these are definitely functions that are going on underneath, and that's how come they're being carried. So it'll call the first one, and it'll get to here, and then it'll call the second one, and then it'll return our result. And this will become more apparent when we do addme 5, and we'll give it a 10. So what's going on under here is we've done addme 5. Okay, so what that's then, let's just quickly break this up, what's going on here. So we're saying, okay, well, addme 5, which is going to do that, which is going to be this. And then when we do addme 5 with another number, so at this point, you know, once we've called that once, that has gone. So we've called addme, we've got rid of the first part. Now we're at this section, so the 5's already in because we've called addme 5. Okay, And then at this point, we can pass in our second value. So we've done 10. Okay, so then this becomes a 10. And then this becomes a 10. And then our results. So after that's been called, then we do 5 plus 10, which equals 15. So if you want to find out a little bit more about currying, there's a great book by Brian Lonsdorf. I hope that's how you say it. Sorry, Brian. Or aka Dr. Boolean on Twitter. And he explains all this in JavaScript format. But it doesn't matter because it'll go nice in depth. If you look for it, so it's, I don't know if you can see up there, but it's mostly -adequate-guide. So if you look for mostly adequate guide to functional programming in Google, you'll be able to find it from there. Okay, and then I've just gone to the Gitbook version. It is also on GitHub. It will show you how currying and partial application is done, and it'll give you like little exercise and bits and pieces. But once you grasp this, it's really nice basic to get a functional programming and then its powers. Because if you think about what we're doing now, is we're able to create almost like a Lego set. Okay, so we're creating one little function that all it cares is as long as it gets an A and a B, it'll return AB. Because of currying, you can partially apply the A, so you can do that partially, and then you can wait for your next information to come in. What I should add is this next information. It's called lazy evaluation. So what it's saying is that function, whatever happens, you can add me 5 here and it won't do anything. It will just be lazy. It will just be like, right, I'm not doing anything until my second value that I require comes in. And once that does come in, then I'll evaluate and then I'll do add A plus B. It's going to be really, really useful, and it is a basis of a lot of functional programming, because once you come from there, we'll be able to span out into more bits and pieces. Like I said, this becomes a function, and it's almost like Lego pieces. You know, you can go boop, 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 and you've got multiple pieces of Lego that are just fitting together and waiting. And once they're all fit in the right place, and that's fine. But then you can take the basis of add me, and then you can do add me divided by 10, or you see what I mean? You're able to take a function and make it, it's, you say pure, and so it only worries about its inputs and outputs, and then you can compose them together. I mean, there is a functional way called composition where you can ultimately compose these together, but this isn't it quite yet. But it is the basis of all these types of things that come through in functional programming. So I think for this lesson, that's adequate. I wanted to go a bit more in depth into currying because I felt that the last lesson I kind of overlooked a few bits and pieces and might have confused people. So if we go into real basics like this into currying, that's grand. So I think that'll be it for today's lesson. Thanks for joining me, and look forward to the next one. Cheers.